Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from whenever you might be listening. My name is JD Ferrell. I am a licensed professional counselor in the state of Illinois, and you are listening to a Modern Man podcast presented to you by the Modern Podcast Network. We're done with it, but recapping February has been a lot of growth. There's been so much growth in February, and I'm not mad at it. It's just with growth comes stress. There's been the modern is growing. What we're a part of, the modern is growing. I'm growing professionally. I'm growing personally. I'm growing physically, and I'm growing physically. Physically and physically. All these things are creating growth, which is creating stress, which is good. But I just want to take a moment and acknowledge that there's a lot of growth. There's a lot of growth happening. And I just want to be aware of that, and I want to acknowledge that. And now I'm going to share that. I'm going to share all the growth that the modern is a part of, all the growth that the modern is expecting. And hopefully you're along this ride with me as you're growing in your 2026, as you're expanding, you're growing, you're becoming who you want to be. I want you to be along for that ride with us as we're becoming who we want to be. So, as I want to share, the goal for the modern is to be a co-ed platform. I really want men and women to both come to the modern to really get something out of it, whether it's an event, whether it's a podcast, really come together to combat something that I see really prevalent right now in the group I'm doing, in the clients I'm seeing, and just in friends and family that I'm speaking to. And that's gender wars. Right now, co-ed friendships aren't a thing. It's really monogender. Really, all our friendships are centered around one gender. It's either men wanting to grow together and have those male friendships that they lost, or women growing together and really trying to bond and kind of have those friendships that they can really hold on to and gain strength from. And I think those are important. It's great to have close male friendships for men. It's great to have close women friendships for women. At the same time, men and women are allowed to be friends. Remember this age-old kind of saying that men and women can't be friends, that there's always some ulterior motive that people try and plant out there that men and women can't be friends, but men and women can be friends. I can root on my colleague who's a woman. I can cheer her on. I can say, yes, bitch, go. It's not just the women in the back who are allowed to do that. And I can have women in my corner who are like, go, bro. Let's go, Poppy. Okay, let's do this thing. We're allowed to cheer both ways. If it's only men out here for men and women out here for women, what are we talking about? No. We all have to co-mingle, co-support each other. So really want to talk about the modern being a co-ed platform. I really want to invite more women to listen, to share with your men, and men, share with your women. Share the content, share the things you're doing. Make this a space that you can both listen and grow and share together. Like my reason to getting into therapy, I call myself a feminist. My goal is to help women, but I can't be sitting alone in a room with maybe a woman who experienced assault by a man who looked like me, or maybe has history of traumas with men that look like me, but maybe that don't look like me, but just a man in general. So I can't be expected to go around and constantly be there and advocate and support. Well, yeah, I can go around and advocate, but I can't be expected to go around and make women feel safe in those spaces at all times because they have their own history that they've been through, and something just I didn't do could trigger something in them. So with knowing that, I'm like, okay, how can I help people in this position? How can I help the wage gap? How can I help these conversations? How can I combat this in a way where maybe I can't always be in spaces surrounded by women? Oh, I take that same content, those same conversations, these same topics, and take them to men. Take them to the people who are comfortable with me. Take them to the people who aren't having these messages, aren't listening. So that's why I became a therapist. I really wanted to be an advocate for women in the presence of men. But while I'm with men, I'm supporting them, I'm advocating for them, but I'm letting them know Not like some reverse psychology. I'm letting them know that me making sure that you're the best you is inherently helping you, your partner of whatever gender they may be. It's helping your children. It's helping your friends and family in your life. If I help you become the best you can be, which is the best man you can be, then it's going to overflow into all the other peers and people in your life. So that's how I can help women. That's how I can advocate, is advocating for men. And some people are like, what? Yeah. So that's why I became a therapist. All right. And I'm going to slide in now. I'm going to tell you about all the growth that is happening at the Modern. So this episode of a Modern Man podcast is talking about all the things that are happening at the Modern. All right. I just want you to let that register a little bit. So a Modern Man podcast. Okay. A modern man, hosted by a man, produced by a man. But it's supposed to show insight. It's supposed to show behaviors from a more emotionally mature man. Yes, maybe that's me bragging about myself, me putting myself a little higher than thou. But I want to show content. I want to have conversations that men and women can both come and see that, oh, masculinity comes in many different forms. Masculinity doesn't look like X, Y, and Z. It can look like whatever the hell I want it to look like. That is the goal. I want to have conversations. I want to put content out there that shows that what a man is whatever the fuck you want it to be. And I want you to own that. And I want women to see that too. I want these expectations of what a man is to just like slowly come down. Because a man can be anything. A man can be rich, poor, strong, weak, white, black, yellow, brown. I feel like being a man is just showing up authentic who you are. And yes, this sounds like a very leftist, progressive way of saying it. But if you identify as a man, okay, then that's what makes you a man. There's not some put it in a box and wrap it up and I gave it to you. This is what it means to be a man. No. If you identify as a man, show up in your authentic self, that's a man. All right. We're not trying to here define it and put labels on it and really quantify it. It's about being the authentic you. And that's why I'm trying to show up as my authentic self to show like this is what a modern man is. The next thing we're starting or have been starting is Men in Community. There's been 2 Men in Community events and it's just, again, growing and growing. The first one was just a couple friends, tried to do the marketing, been hanging things on flag poles. Or light poles, hanging things on businesses, taping them everywhere, emailing it to whoever, wherever I can receive an email. And really growing it the best possibly we know how. And it's growing. And being excited that something that, you wanted to put out there, that's something that you wanted to do is really starting to happen in the community. And the one that started to grow is our Pages and Frames, where it was bring a book, bring a film that impacted you, that resonated with you. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to share that. So a couple of the gentlemen came. We had a little session, talked about why they came, what maybe set in with them to be like, oh, I want to come to this event. And then we talked about a couple of the books we brought. We didn't get through all the books, but it was enough that we felt we had community. We shared a space. We shared conversation. People felt heard. And then it was an hour and then we went on. So it was really nice to just come together and have community, which is ultimately the whole goal. It's men in community. There's no label. There's no this is what it is. There's no this is what I want. It's just people coming together for community. Yeah, it really touched my heart. It is exactly what I wanted it to be. And it's just a little seed of what it's going to be, but was super excited. Very much so. All right. The next event we have coming in is our book club. It's the Modern Reading Room Book Club. And this is one I'm excited about, especially because a goal for, I think, everyone for the last 10, 15 plus years since mainstream TV has been more and more popular is read more. Everyone wants to read more. Everyone's trying to join a book club. Everyone blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I'm going to keep saying everyone. And so, just like the Men in Community, just like a Modern Man podcast, a lot of content we're creating and events that we're creating is stuff that we feel we would want to do, we would enjoy. And we feel like it's missing in the world. And you know that saying, be the change you want to be? That's exactly what we're doing. Instead of waiting for the change, instead of seeking something out elsewhere, we're being the change that we want to be. So in the Modern Reading Room, the Modern Reading Room is going to focus on millennial authors. Stephen and I, the co-founders of The Modern, are, of course, both millennials. So we feel like using the niche of millennial authors talks a little bit about the story we've been through and kind of our upbringing in childhood, and the events that we've been through are going to be similar to a lot of the authors. Not in terms of stories and upbringing and all that, but in terms of the overarching cultural events that has affected us all. We've all experienced those same cultural events and cultural milestones. So that's a nice niche to kind of play on the authors. And the reading room is going to meet once a month. We're going to talk about the book. We're going to have an email thread with the different people who are interested in being in the book club to maybe do check-ins like, oh, I'm on chapter 3. Have you seen what happened on chapter 3? Just wait, like things like that, to do little check-ins with each other to still, again, having community as we're reading. And then once a month, meet, have community, share our thoughts, our ideas, our understandings of the characters and maybe what they were going through in their psyche. And again, co-ed, because I feel like in this world right now, there's a complete lack of understanding of the other side. And so just hearing the perspective of a man and a woman sharing how they felt a character was going through or the struggle, and hearing each individual's perspective is going to have a better understanding of, oh, that's what you thought? I would have never have guessed. Never. And so maybe understanding how different men perceive certain characters, that can help women, understand, oh, that's how maybe men perceive women in life. And then it just creates for further deeper discussion to, again, merge these gender wars, right? The men in the group, they hear women talk about the women's plight and the man's struggle through the characters, and hear, oh, this is a woman's interpretation of this. So I was constantly doing this. This is what was getting interpreted. Oh, my intent was not that, but this is the interpretation. This is how she was perceiving it. So even though we're not doing group therapy, just hearing the cross-cultural, the cross-gender interpretations of people's feelings and themes and stories is going to be quasi-group therapy. So excited for the book club. And the cool thing I love about the book club is the Modern Reading Room Book Club is also going to be a podcast. Yeah. Love that, because one, it gives Stephen and I another chance to get together to hang out and do something fun we like, which is producing content. But as we said, focusing on millennial authors, it's going to be a twice a month podcast. We're going to have the first half where we're going to be talking about the millennial authors, which is going to be so fun, where we're going to be talking about the history, interesting facts, maybe a little gossip, so it tells a little about why the author wrote this book, maybe what they were going through when they wrote this book, and then maybe some backlash after they wrote the book. So I love the little beginning tease, so you can be like, oh, this is this author, this is what they were going through, this is how they got that book deal. Maybe it was a little shady, just a little shady tea on the author, maybe a little informative tea, just fun. We want to get to know the author before we read the book. And this is our way of dissecting and going through and having a little fun with the author. So that's going to be the first part of the podcast, or the first podcast that comes out every month. And then the second one, it's going to be a recap. The book club is going to be completely anonymous. I hate that word. Anonymous. All right. And that's going to be just for the people that want to come, have community, share, and whatever is shared isn't going to be recorded, isn't going to be left and, quoted for afterwards. But we are going to maybe talk about some stuff that we talked about in the book club. So the second podcast is going to be a recap where Stephen and I talk about our thoughts, our themes, stuff we thought was interesting, and also recapping the book itself. And then we might bring in some things we thought were interesting from the book club, some perspectives we thought, maybe some interesting conversations that were had. Obviously, not saying any details and names and putting anyone's content and business out there, but just kind of sharing things that were funny that we thought other people thought were interesting from the book club. So that is the Modern Reading Room coming up, going to be launching in April. I will be putting out things soon there, but focusing on millennial authors. And again, a podcast talking about the author, their story, their history, why they got into writing this book. And then the second one, recapping the book, doing a little deep dive, telling you what we thought was interesting, funny, cute, etc. Next event, not podcast, this is just another event, co-ed event have going on, is the pause. The pause is something I'm doing. I do value meditation. It is a practice that helped me a lot when I was struggling pre-COVID, and then during COVID, and then post-COVID. Just being grounded, being present, listening to myself, feeling my body, being just aware of my surrounding, and having that awareness really helped me through a difficult time. It's something I haven't been practicing as much lately. I've been dabbling in it when I do it with my clients, but it is definitely something I really want to get into and make it a lifelong practice. And so again, be the change I want to be. Instead of looking for this, instead of paying for this elsewhere, I'm going to be the change I want to be. So the pause is going to be a weekly pause. We all need to just pause. So starting Saturday mornings, just for 10 minutes, I want us to pause. I want us to come in, check in, have a silent meditation, and then maybe speak about it. This comes after something in Clubhouse that really helped me through COVID. We had, what was the name of our group? I think it was just called 10 Minute Silence. I still have the poker chip Eric sent me, and I have his painting on the wall there. I have everything Eric has sent me. He was the leader of this thing on Clubhouse, where if you remember Clubhouse in, I believe, 2020, it was an audio only app. It wanted to become the Instagram, the Twitter of audio. And we would meet, I think at 10 a.m. it was, for the 10 minutes of silence, Eastern time. And every time just 10 minutes, silent meditation, and then maybe speak about our experience. And this lasted for almost 2 years, daily, checking in at the same time. I was doing it a lot, and several of us, I'm still friends with Eric and several of the other people on Instagram and other platforms, and I have an email thread, and I've missed the couple meditations that they spontaneously have had. But that group really affected me, changed me, shaped me, helped me, carved me, however you want to, whatever word you want to label it. But I would ideally love it to be that. But things are never going to be what you want them to be. So again, taking that out and removing all labels, all expectations, I really just want to get better at my practice and use something as little as 10 minutes on a Saturday morning to begin meditating. So I'm going to use that time for me to take 10 minutes to meditate. And if people are willing to join, if people also want to have community and share for the 10 minutes after, I'm more than happy. It's going to be a simple 30 minutes. I'm going to wait 5 minutes for people to show up. We're going to do 10 minutes of silent meditation, and then a 10-minute of kind of sharing, and then wrap up. It's not going to be forced. It's not going to be overcomplicated. It's simply show up, pause, share, and then you're free to go. But we all just need to pause. All right? So I'm excited to just get back into my practice. And it's been hard for me to solo practice, so forcing myself to do it in community. And if I go in community, I'm doing it solo, then I'm doing it solo. But we all need to pause. The last thing I'm going to talk about, which I'm not going to go too much in detail because I might have Steven come on the podcast and share more about what he wants to do when he's launching it, because I know he got really busy recently. And so this might be kind of put on the back burner, but it's the game before the game. He loves the name. Loves the name. I like the name. I like the name. But the game before the game, hosted by Stephen Merriweather, don't want to tell you too much, but he's really doing a deep dive on sports franchises, talking about how they started and going from them to present day. So talking about how the ownership got together, maybe rival ownership groups, possible names they were thinking about at the team, maybe other relocation places they were thinking about going, colors they were thinking about. So really want to do a deep dive on all the franchises, all the professional franchises we know, and then tell like what happened along the way. Who are some of their great players? What are some of their pivotal obstacles they face and how they overcame those? The business aspect as well as the sports, like on the court, on the field access. Think about a team like the Golden State Valkyries in the WNBA. Their first year was last year. So you can start with something easy and talk about, oh, this is how the ownership group got together. This is some of the head fundraisers. Oh, they were going to be this team, but now they're the Valkyries, yada, yada, yada. And then in 10 years, podcast still going. Now you can do the Valkyries again. You know, it's 6? Valkyries are a 12-year franchise. Talk about how they were sold, how they initially had a buyout for this, and now they're worth this. These were the key players. The same podcast 10 years later is even better because you got to see how much has happened to a franchise like that. To talk about the Chicago Fire now building a stadium. If you did them now, you'll talk about how they're playing in Soldier Field still. It's really cool idea. I want Steven to probably come on and talk about that himself. It's his passion project. It's going to be his baby. So in the next month or two, I'll probably have him come on and really share who is going to be his first story that he's doing on and details about the podcast. So that is the game before the game. It'll be a monthly podcast, just once a month with Steven. I'm really excited about that coming forward. Probably in April. Maybe that's too soon. I don't want to tell too much, but coming soon, the game before the game. Again, that's 3 podcasts. We'll be putting out 3 different podcasts a month. The Modern Reading Room, a Modern Men podcast, and the game before the game. And then 3 events. We got the Modern Reading Room event, Men in Community, and the Pause. So the Modern, again, is ramping up, really putting out stuff to combat these gender wars, to get a better understanding of each other, and really bring our community together. Because once we understand each other, once we can come to a community, now we can actually grow together. And now we can actually fight the problem is everybody else except us, right? We all in this together, rich, poor, broke. The last couple of weeks, I told you the new segment I like putting into the podcast is the critical thinking side, where I leave you with a couple questions that you can maybe talk about with your partner, your parent, or anyone else in your life, friend, whoever. But the critical thinking I want to leave you with today is both talking about the gender wars, talking about conversations between men and women really sound like battles, not a dialogue. So I talked about the couple events and things I'm trying to do. I want to ask you, what do you think could help us move past the gender wars and move towards a better understanding of one another? That's question 1. Question 2. What is one misconception you think maybe men have about women, or maybe women have about men, that if we understood this misconception better, might reduce some tension between the two? All right, that's critical thinking for this week. Please like, share, respond. Also, send me a response, comment about what do you think could help give us a better understanding, or maybe what is a misconception we have. If you would like to give me a comment or response to any of the critical thinking, I would love to hear from you. I am JD Ferrell, and this is a Modern Man podcast presented to you by the Modern Podcast Network and the ModernHQ. I'll see you in a couple weeks. Thank you. Mic drop.